Ross, happy early birthday.
Thank you. When is this podcast gonna post?
The day before.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Gosh,
the
you're such a
19th.
quick editor.
That's why I always say I can't do anything else on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And usually it's not that quick. That's my new goal. So
Yeah.
Do you ever edit while you go to the bathroom?
no.
TMI,
That
bro.
would mean taking my computer to the bathroom, and I don't think that
I didn't know if you're in such a pinch to edit. You're like, you got to bring the whole gear with you.
No, I was in such a pinch last week when we went to Dunwoody that I had to bring my computer and edit in the back seat. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
You were there?
I was, I was so focused that you wouldn't even be able to tell that I was there.
Ethan, I have one question.
Yep.
Are you upset that I shaved my head?
Not at all.
Not at all?
You didn't shave your head. Let's be clear
That's
for our
true.
listeners.
That's
Yeah.
true.
If you're listening to this, just an encouragement to watch on YouTube because you can see
And subscribe while you're there.
Hey,
Because we will be giving away.
Ross's hair.
we
that
have three different
shaved.
tangents going right now, and I want you to finish that.
Okay, we'll
But I
be
have another
giving away
tangent.
a Ratio 6 brewer and a fellow Ode grinder together. Package deal.
Right.
What's the value on that?
The Ratio
7,000?
retails for $350.
Priceless.
The Ode retails for $300. So $650 of stuff.
I don't even have that much money.
Were they our demo units that we tested before we started selling these? Yes. Were they at my house and was I brewing coffee with them at home? Yes, but not that much, okay? And it's free, so stop complaining about it.
Yeah,
It's like on Fox Sports whenever they're like, we're giving away
$1 million of Terry's money.
So
And
stupid.
Terry Bradshaw's like, duh.
What? Oh, I'm out of money.
Who believes that it's Terry's money?
It's not?
It's also, yeah, that sounds like something we would do,
Okay,
honestly.
back to
So,
my tangent.
Props to Fox.
Back to my tangent.
Okay, no, back to my tangent. 1 like equals 1 happy birthday to Ross.
Okay, that was worthy of interrupting me.
And 1
Again.
subscribe equals 1.
Present to Ross.
Yeah.
It would make me so happy.
For every subscriber, I will spank Ross extra time for his
Well,
birthday.
we just so happen to be having a giveaway where you enter by subscribing, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
how do we delineate between happy birthday subscribers?
Comment section.
Thank
One
you.
comment equals 1 for he's a jolly good fellow for Ross.
Yeah, so that video will be posted soon about how and when and who
Did you keep
will
the
be given
hair,
away.
the
Given
hair
to-
that was cut? Because I was thinking we could add that to the giveaway.
My loose hair.
Yeah.
No, I actually ended up sweeping it up and throwing it away. Yeah.
Not composting it?
No, I didn't compost my hair.
Dang.
Dang.
Is it actually better for business if we send people over to YouTube, or do we want them to listen on podcasts?
Both, baby.
You decide.
Because on last program and this one, we both were like, hey, you would only get this if you were watching. So go over to YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I get both sides of it. I kind of do both.
Okay, back to my hair.
Thank God.
I feel like you have been just kind of known as like the buzz cut guy
Right.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure like we're straight, you know?
We've known each other for a while, right?
Yeah.
6 plus.
6+.
I feel like you could recall times that I've encouraged you to buzz your head.
Yeah.
So I'm still an advocate for that. Let me finish. You didn't buzz your head, and you have a freaking cut. You have like a fade.
Yeah.
I'm too dumb. I'm just like,
You can
Yeah.
say that again. Say that again.
I'm put this on the reel. I'm too dumb,
Dude, here's another tangent. I never got that personal
You'll get it, man.
reel.
You'll get it.
Okay. I let the record show that I've been begging my wife for a buzz cut since we got married.
Yep.
And I finally convinced her to do it.
So what was the catalyst?
I just found the right picture of like, hey, this guy, Travis Kelce, looks great, doesn't he, babe? I want his haircut.
And I could look more like him
Right.
if you cut my hair.
And I could be more like him in every way
If you gained 60 pounds,
of muscle mass.
He's probably what, 6'7"?
No. I think he's maybe more like 6'4" range.
I bet he's 6'7".
No, he's got to be 6'6".
He's a
or
big
6'7".
boy.
6'5".
Dang.
So he's not even close to how tall I am.
But gosh, is he handsome.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get your ears pierced?
I can't say I will.
Dude, I could see you getting
Still
your
up in the
ears-
air.
Can you just
Look at that.
leave-
He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He is hot.
Yeah, he's hot.
Let's just be clear. Not the best looking man in football. That goes to Jimmy G, of course.
Sure.
You're crazy, man.
Yeah, Jimmy G's pretty hot. Let's see. Jimmy G.
Oh man,
Holy moly.
kids, look away.
This is a family program, okay? Well, anyways, I just wanted to make sure.
My goodness.
Wait. What are the odds? Can we start playing? What are the odds on air?
Yes, go ahead.
What are the odds you make that picture of Jimmy G your profile picture for the next month?
I'm not doing that.
On his
Are you
serious,
kidding?
serious Insta or personal Insta?
Yeah,
No.
which Insta?
Oh,
Speak-
not profile picture. Screensaver, like on your phone.
But
Wait, those aren't the same thing?
Exactly.
we're not doing this right now.
What?
Hey, do you want to tell the funny thing about me and my Instagrams with this story?
I don't know where you're going with that. What do you mean?
Travis Kelce, my Instagrams.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my wife, before she became a stay-at-home mom, she was a hairdresser. So she still cuts my hair and some of our friends' hair. And she posted on her Instagram story. It's a poll. You guys understand Instagram? How you got the poll feature?
Okay, keep it moving.
So yeah, she was like, should Ross cut his hair like this? And, picture of Travis Kelce. And it was an overwhelming majority for yes. But there were 4 accounts that said no.
Naysayers.
And all 4 of them were Riley logging into the only accounts he has access to, namely Ethan River 777.
Dude, you put me on blast like that.
which is Ethan's parody account ran by Riley. It's hilarious. If you're on Instagram, go check it out and follow it so that Riley posts more.
I'm expecting
Smash
a
like while you're there.
I'm expecting a good birthday post from me to Ross by your hand.
We'll see. I don't do anything by demand for
Can
Ethan River
we
777.
can we
so
incorporate Ethan River 777 Instagram page into the giveaway at all?
No,
Serious question.
absolutely not.
Okay, so he logged into that one. He logged into his Riley's trying to become a coffee influencer. So
Shut your damn mouth.
He's not trying, bro. He is.
So he's logged into that one. Then he logged into his personal _ Riley Westbrook, and then he logged into Valor's Instagram and voted no on all of them.
You don't have a real estate account?
I do. I just don't follow Rachel on that one, and she's private.
She is private.
She's a private person.
So, anyways, that's that story. I thought that was really funny. The next morning when I came into the office with Travis Kelce's haircut, you did say, "Hey, man, your hair looks great."
Hey, dude.
I was just kidding.
I'm just messing around.
Sometimes there's this element of comedy. I'm not sure if you've heard. It's called sarcasm. So yeah.
There's truth to every joke, though.
Right.
Yeah, no, for
So-
sure.
Were you worried going into work that you were maybe going to catch some backlash from him?
From Big T. I think I'm at the point in my manhood / adulthood where I don't care.
You also catch so much backlash from me
Right.
that you're used to it.
Yeah. Like shaving my head, I haven't shaved my head since I was maybe
Sixth grade.
sixth grade.
Sixth grade. That's sixth grade. I was having my head.
And so it's a big change for me. But I thought about being insecure for a second, and I was like, no, that's dumb. Like I want to do this, and who cares? I have to live my truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Live your truth, dude. Live your truth.
What a great transition.
to the meat and potatoes.
Welcome to the meat and potatoes section of the Portcast. Who's going to tee this up for us, huh?
Ross.
Well, we had a lovely viewer ask us a question. I don't remember when we got the question.
15, 16.
Was this a question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was how do you make great products consistently?
Beautiful.
Meaning presumably, that, you walk in. Guys, have you ever been to a place
No.
and like whether it was a bar or it was a coffee shop and you're like, okay, if that person's behind the bar, I'm going to get a cappuccino. If that person's behind the bar, I'm getting me a drip.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Meaning the other guy doesn't know how to steam milk or he doesn't know how to dial an espresso or whatever.
Yes.
Wow.
So that has been a big frustration, huge frustration for us. God. So that's kind of like one of the fires under our bums to like start Valor, right? Was to make like a consistently awesome across several different employees with varying skill levels, like consistent product.
Yes. Can I say something about what you just said really quickly?
That's kind of what the podcast is all about. Go for it.
Yikes, bro. Do you guys need to take
Dude,
a minute?
what?
I got beef with both of you guys on this podcast.
If you heard Ross just attack me, smash like.
If you're on Team Riley, smash like. If you're on Team Ross, comment below.
I'm Team Edward.
So this idea of, Elijah makes the best cortado. I
Yeah.
think that was an actual like comment about like towards the end of Elijah's last day. Like he made an Instagram post and someone commented and said, "I'll miss my Elijah cortados" or whatever.
Sure.
I know Elijah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, crap.
I know Ethan makes just as good of a cortado. This is just such a funny conversation as Elijah. So
Let's make a personal reel for Ethan River 777 about this too.
How much of that do you think is people's, their brain saying certain things? This happened to me one time at Chrome Yellow.
Back when you were the manager.
It was before I was the manager. When I
Oh.
first started working there, it was classic there. People would come in and be like, "Oh yeah, Jewel makes the best cortado."
Yeah.
And I was like, I make a cortado the exact same way as she does.
Right.
And this one guy like rolled his eyes at the fact that Jewel wasn't making his cortado and I was one time.
You sound upset.
Well, I mean, that was like pretty douchey of him. But
Yeah. No, I was just observing.
What's his name?
I don't know. I
Let's
don't
get him.
remember anything about the guy. I just remember this
Welcome
situation.
to the Valor Cancel Show.
But anyways, why do you think that happens?
I know. Dude. Okay, it's probably because there's people that make good drinks, right?
Yeah.
Like Elijah makes a good cortado.
Probably especially with like milk drinks. Steam's milk drinks.
Listen, Elijah makes a hell of a cortado.
Right. And my gut says that it's more about the personal connection than the actual drink. There's a quote that we like to use around here, the Maya Angelou quote. People will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. I think that translates to the experience and the drink itself.
Yeah.
2 recordings in a row for you on that one, bud.
What? What do you mean?
Said it on Culture Couch.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
We have it on film, bro.
Crap.
Insert clip here.
So
Yeah, editing.
that's a big thing. It's just like everybody's going to be a little skeptical of the new guy or the new person. It's like we've been doing the same thing for so long. We bring someone on, we teach them our systems, and they're probably going to make the same iced oat, lavender, vanilla the exact same way. But I feel like someone's going to have a little bit like really?
Yeah.
Jonathan really made my latte the best.
And he was getting it from the draft tap. That would be funny.
That would be funny, but that was a different
But
time.
it's that they would. What we're saying is people would say that because of the connection.
Yeah, which is a beautiful thing that there's like a connection of trust and relationship because that's how we do it. So I guess in a sense, the way to manage consistency is to continue to hire relational people that will also like breed trust and respect for guests.
Right. And maybe at the point like when Riley was working at Chrome Yellow and that guy was skeptical of his cortado skills, maybe he didn't have selvage denim yet. Maybe that was the problem.
I think you really just like cut straight to the core of like it's about selvage. Like selvage versus cone, There's another thing too, and that is a coffee shop is kind of like a bar. Okay, there's like ingredients.
Yeah.
And you can compile them and mix them in different ways to achieve slightly different results.
Yeah.
And so you can have a lot of people asking for like trivial twists
Sure.
to produce a different result, a slightly different result, and you can become attached to that. And I think it's just really important to translate those moments to your entire team, because there's like an individual versus team.
Let me finish.
There's like an individual versus team path you could go down there. So like,
Yeah.
if guest X really wants this like small twist done every time on their drink, you can take that on personally and be like, all right, I'm always going to make Sally's cappuccino.
Dry cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I can relay that information to the team so that they can also achieve it. Here's an example. There's an awesome lady that comes in that has just a super specific tea order that is very ambiguous and never had like a lot of structure around it. And basically we had to like adjust it every time for weeks, months.
Building the perfect beverage
Right.
for
We were building the perfect beverage for her.
Darlene.
Sophia got it. She like was the first one to crack the code, and she like makes it every time.
What was it? Oh, God.
But instead of her just being like, "Oh, Sophia's now going to be the only person that can make the drink,"
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, let's like measure it out and relay this information to the team." So it's 2 ice cubes, 140 grams of Earl Grey concentrate, topped all the way to the top with the red bottle Califia almond milk, lid straw, done.
Was it? Did we make this drink when we were on bar together?
Oh, totally. We make it like every day.
Okay.
That's the thing. Is like we finally like pushed through.
Yeah.
Because we like systematized it.
Yes.
But you could have the choice to systematize or personalize, right?
Yeah. That's good.
And a team player systematizes, and a individualist can personalize.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of directions we could go with this topic because we care about it so much. One is we have different like positions behind the bar, different certifications. We could talk about that. We could talk about range of excellence.
Talk about equipment choices.
We could talk about our training program to get. Let's normalize program. Yeah, our training program, getting people up to snuff on each of their positions. What should we do first?
Did we even lay out the actual topic?
Yeah. How do we make great products consistently?
Yeah. I just know that we laid out the idea and then did what we do with tangents.
Yeah.
There we go again.
Yeah.
That's what a podcast is for.
Oh.
We have such a team execution. We just whenever we bring people on, sometimes that's something we have to explain to them, especially if they have experience in coffee or in the service industry in general. Just that this is not the kind of cafe where you have the person that's barely trained at all that takes the orders, and then you have the other person wearing a teeny beanie actually making the drinks, at a completely by themselves.
Did you see me behind the bar yesterday or something?
I've got no disrespect for teeny beanies. It's just for comedic value. But the way we have it set up is way more like an assembly line.
Right.
Whenever we're fully staffed on a Saturday, like what are the positions? Lay them out.
We have 2. Well, we have someone taking the orders. That is concierge. They're representing the space, directing traffic, helping people get what they want. That person has a support called concierge support. Believe it or not, that's the name. They're helping execute the food, a lot of the running, pastry case restock, getting drips, getting draft drinks, stuff like that. And then you have Expo, who is kind of like production lead-esque, basically. So they're looking at the orders coming in electronically, and they're delegating and activating the team around them to achieve, to finish the orders. And so they're like making sure everything is going out properly and in time. And the person that they're talking to is the person to their left, which is the brewer. So they're responsible for making espressos, matchas, teas, maybe doing some like by the cup stuff. And then brewer and Expo have a bar support who is behind them running, doing dishes, bussing, restocking, finishing out drinks, supporting. So our bar's pretty tight, so we usually just keep it at 5. Sometimes if we're training, they'll just be like, I'll make a new title called Expo Support, and it'll be someone like just basically standing to the right of Expo, and they're like plating everything, icing cups, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
mostly 5. And then, yeah, so just in that, like one order can come in and every person can have their touch point on the order.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. This kind of makes me think, zooming out to more of the philosophy, culture side of things. There's something in our orientation that says, it's kind of a funny statement, but it says nothing means anything if we're not consistent. And that just kind of goes with one of the main things in our business, which is if we can't replicate something, then we usually don't want to do it. The exception to that is going above and beyond for a customer in a non-scalable way, which absolutely needs to happen because that's what makes memorable experiences, or at least part of it. But for the most part, if we're implementing a new system, like yesterday, I was behind the bar with you and somebody was like, hey, can I get a single origin Ethiopia cortado? And it was kind of like should we do it or not?
Yeah,
And
we don't offer that, but
right. And it was like, well, yeah, let's rip it. Let's just go for it.
it was the worst looking drink I've ever made, by the way. I was so embarrassed. I've also reached the point in adulthood where I was like, this is embarrassing. I forgot to stir the crema. I didn't even think about that. It was a 60-gram shot.
Yeah.
So it was just like fat.
The crema's just mad at you.
And I got like this much room for milk now in my cortado. And I like start to build the base, and the milk just like makes a ring instead of like a
Wreath, dude.
so like I like do my first little bloop, but it's just like it's bad.
More of a macchiato.
Yeah, it was. Anyways, but I got the guy like 3 cups of sparkling water, so we're good.
Sparkling water covers all sins.
Amen.
Anyways,
Sure, it tasted good.
yeah. So that is one of my favorite compliments people give about the cafe. It's just that it's consistent, because that is just the last thing we want to have is a cafe that can have a good experience on day 1, and then when that person comes back on day 6, it's a crap experience.
Yeah.
Like we really do want it to be the same. And to your point, that is accomplished by having awesome systems, but it's also accomplished by hiring people that align with your values.
Yeah.
Because they will operate out of those values and have that continuity with your brand. But I'm thinking of other ways. I guess like a little bit more on the positions behind the bar. There's we made this document a long time ago on Basecamp, and it's basically just a list of requirements that you have to meet in order to be certified in.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at our reviews, and I just have to bring this one up.
Tasty pastries.
I guess he meant to hit the exclamation point.
Hey, 5 stars.
Thanks, Grant.
Tasty pastries?
I hope it wasn't like I'm still giving it 5 stars, but I went and they were sold out of pastries.
I doubt that.
We don't have to read too far into it, I guess.
Nah, we like it. Thanks, Grant.
Reaction video to our reviews. What a great idea. But yeah, it's really simple. If you're going to get certified for support, you have to know how to restock the cups. You have to know you have to know the names of our tables: C1, C2, C3, little b, big B,
A bar,
that kind of stuff. And then brewer, I'm not sure if you guys do this, but when we built it out, that list, it was like, to be certified for brewer, you have to pull 4 espressos in under 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Do you still do that?
Yeah.
That's cool. Because I think that is it's a way to quantify something. Because it's a way to quantify the whole argument of like, hey, speed up. Like, we need shots faster. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to say about that with positions and flow, I feel like the most interesting combatant of consistency is the decision that we made a while back to hire people that have worked in coffee shops, other coffee places. Yeah. And I feel like that's one of our biggest things, because if we teach everybody our way, that's like everybody's evoked set of
yeah. We all know what that means.
It's like everybody, how to make a drink, they think about the way that we taught them, and if there's any innovation, it's like in reference to the standard that we set. But when you bring people in, they have different standards that they're like, it's their baseline. And that's what I've seen to be everybody. Yeah, there's just different angles to make drinks. It's so specific, but because I wanted to talk about how do you stay consistent while blending that, like different backgrounds, and while trying to innovate, because a huge part of our business is making things better. So you have to try new things.
Change things.
You have to change things.
Yeah.
And that's something I find myself doing. I'll be doing something different, and someone says, is that the way we're supposed to be doing that? And I'm like, no, I'm just trying something right now.
Yeah. Well, to that tune, what would you say, and both of you guys weigh in, Riley, I really want to hear from you on this. What are some of the biggest...
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
What are some of the biggest combatants of consistency in a coffee shop? I'll start. One of them is, I think, dialing in your communication with standards. Because the thing that inevitably happens behind a bar is one person's doing something one way, and then the other person is doing something another way. And let's say they're both peers. I know you gave the example of you're the boss, whatever. Everyone knows you're the boss. Chill. It's peer to peer, and there's two people doing something a different way. How does that conflict happen? And there's also the like sliding scale of like, how much does it matter? We've dealt with this a lot. Like, some people behind the bar may really, really, really care about the dose of our espresso being 17.5 every time, to the 10th every time. Whereas other people don't value that point of excellence as much because it doesn't affect the overall product as much. And so it's our job as leaders to communicate, I guess, the severity of each standard.
Right. Like
how important is it that just some standards are more important than others, right? And communicating that is tough. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different examples of varying degrees of importance on different standards and metrics and numbers and processes and all that. Mm-hmm. But there's no way to cover all of them. Mm-hmm. And so really, like, we try to keep communication as high as possible on all that, but ultimately you just need a team that trusts each other. Mm-hmm. Because if I trust that you are doing your best and I trust that you know what you're doing for the most part, and you trust that I know what I'm doing for the most part, and we both understand that it's not the end of the world if something is a little bit different, then we'll find a way forward. Like, even if we disagree about something, we can just table it and like talk about it later with our boss. I know we have a lot there, but how do you, Ethan, as the cafe leader, how do you communicate standards? I know Mikey does that a lot too.
Yeah. I think you said is really huge, and it's like an unfortunate reality that some things matter more than others, right? And so I think sometimes there's like some really, really simple examples that come to mind of like, if I'm making a drip or a cold brew, do you put the stuff in, like the cream first, or do you put it in after you fill up the cup?
Yeah.
You do an iced Americano. Do you shake the Americano in a cocktail shaker, or do you get a cup full of ice and put water in it? You know, these are pretty like small things, but they're just like different process methods.
Sure.
And where do you like, this is the way that we do it? And when you're like, hey, if you're achieving the same result, the same end result
In about the same amount of time.
in about the same amount of time, I don't care. You
Right.
know?
I think we've got more and more, we've embraced that philosophy more and more.
For better and for worse, I guess. Yeah, I think, but on the flip side, I try to, there's other things that we like toughen up on too. You know, I think like some things that have always stayed the same is just like the way we dose our coffees and the way we make our drip. And it's like, that's always just been the same, and nobody really gives a push about it. It's like, that's how it is. I would say in communication, I typically lean to the communication hub app that we have called Basecamp when I'm like really trying to make a message. And so Mikey does a great job too whenever there's new drinks or maybe some hubbub, like putting it out there as like gospel of like, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then letting there be space for people to talk about that and process it and maybe push back is natural. But I think whenever something hits like a communication app like that, it usually becomes a lot more solid. But yeah, it's a wild ride, man. It's a really wild ride. And I think it always ought to be in standard to the result of your product, right?
Yeah.
Like, do processes before the end result challenge consistency?
Right.
Because does an inconsistent process that still makes a similar end result, is that okay?
Right.
That's a good question to ask. Another thing too is, and this has happened before too, say I don't really prefer like a small inconsistent process that does achieve a similar result, but then that person indoctrinates other people into their method instead of the way that I would do it.
Right. Where do you go from there?
What do you do? Yeah. Where do you, and that's what I was going to say. This gets it a lot more ambiguous, but we're talking about people. We're talking about like very relational people that are working at our shop. We're not talking about robots. And so it's like, how do you hold all of this in tandem without having like such a rigid workflow?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And on the whole communication and trust note, we have, and I bet a lot of people that are listening who have coffee shops, the people that work there like care a lot.
Yeah. They
care about consistency. And that's why there often is conflict behind the bar about processes. And so it's not for lack of caring. It's just the ability to move forward in that conflict. And just a huge thing that we've learned over the years as leaders is to, whenever something doesn't go right, immediately take responsibility in some way. Mm-hmm. Like, if there was a standard that wasn't really communicated as highly, or there was a conflict, I've seen you countless times say like, I apologize for not communicating that standard clearly enough. Or, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't really ever talk about that. But you can't get to everything. Right. But it is important to take that responsibility as the leader, because your sole job is the success and health of the team. This term range of excellence, I think it also ties into this a lot of, if you have this core value as a company to just make like perfect drinks every time, that's a really noble pursuit, right? But again, we're dealing with organic products that were alive at some point, coffee, and then also milk, you're steaming milk. Every extraction it's impossible to achieve the same extraction every time.
Yet.
Every time you brew coffee, it's nearly impossible to achieve the same, texture milk, temperature milk every single time. And so if your standard is perfection, then if you pour your cappuccino and your tulip doesn't really have the contrast that you want or the temperature that you want, then got to pour it out, start over. And so, but that obviously messes up with the bar flow. Because if we're throwing out drinks left and right because we're not nailing it every single time, then we're going to be backed up. So navigating that over the years has been really fun too. And this term range of excellence, like behind the bar the other day, someone made a cappuccino and it was like kind of on the edge of acceptable as far as like the art and the texture. And they were like, what do you think? Should we send this one? And we ended up not sending it. I asked them what they think, and it was like, we ended up not sending it. But having that range, I mean, that has been really, really helpful. I'm trying to think of like specific examples of that in the cafe. Latte Art's an easy one because it's just so, I mean, you kind of just say like, does it look good or not?
Yeah, and we dial in drip when we bring in new coffees. That's one thing we rotate a decent amount, And so when you're tasting batches of drip, you're like, all right, this is good. Is it servable good? Is it unservable? And it's all on like a spectrum. It's not like a red light, green light kind of thing.
And it's not a compromise thing. Like just because we have a range of excellence and we say something is quote unquote good enough. By good enough, we really mean good enough.
Excellent enough.
Yeah, because there is like an enough to it because it's such a subjective thing. And I think it's really important to toot. Whenever a product is in question of, is it excellent enough? Is it in the range of excellence? Looping in other people on the team just really quick to be like, what do you think? Should we send this one?
Right.
I think that's helpful to not feel like you're on your own island of, discerning whether something is acceptable to serve.
Yeah, and there's the intangible too of time it takes to receive a beverage, and we know. I think the Cat and Cloud guys have talked about this a good bit, and it stuck with me. But like an espresso served after 3 minutes ordering, and it's pretty good, is better than a little bit better espresso given 10, 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
So there's something about like if you just zoom in on the drink itself, you're only looking at one part of the equation of the whole guest experience.
Yeah.
Which is, are you engaging with the guests? Are you checking in on them? Do they feel seen, cared for, and related to? And are they getting their stuff in good time?
Yeah, I think that's a good bridge to my main topic on this. You said you wanted to hear from me.
Go for it, baby.
So
let's hear it.
I think that's all that has been said so far is one side of it. The other side is the side of panic, bottlenecks, and inefficiencies.
Those are three terrible words. I'm scared.
Say your 3-point sermon.
Yeah, this is my 3-point. I know my structure.
Unpack that.
So that's the main reason that we didn't do pour overs, and we have shied away from that side of things for so long. And you can really picture this as you walk into a cafe. There's a line. You get to the front of the line. They have some dope pour overs on their menu. I'm talking like Say,
Yes.
Little Wolf, Onyx. You're like, okay, I'm
Let's
gonna get
go.
one of these. Let's
I'll
go,
have all
dude.
three.
Yeah.
Give me the works.
Yeah. So you order one.
A flight.
Homie behind the bar is slammed.
Yeah.
He's like, and then
Yeah.
he's got to make a pour over. It's going to take a really long time, and it's probably not going to be number one on his radar. of
Let's
things
be
he's
honest. They
doing.
probably didn't dial that sucker in.
Yeah. It's not done. There's one setting on their EK
Yeah.
that they use for pour overs. So what's going to happen? You're going to get it. It might be good, but it also might be like, meh, I paid $8 for this. And
It'd be
it's
good if it
fine.
was a natural.
Yes. Yeah, that's honestly true. But it's hard to build a range of excellence around that when you're in an extremely high volume environment. And so that's why like we do pour overs at our cafe now, but it's using a robot. So
One robot, please.
Right. And taking
Been
every
going well.
taking everything in context of, there might be cafes that just absolutely crush pour overs and they staff accordingly. Their menu is, accomplishing that vision.
someone works a brew bar.
Right. A slow bar.
Slow bar, yeah.
We're not that company. We're not that cafe.
Yeah. That's not to say we will never have we will probably never have something that's
A
that
slow bar.
I never say never. It's my personal dream.
slow bar and
Yeah.
you work it every day.
Yeah. Like yeah.
I cannot think of anything that sounds worse.
A slow bar.
No offense to any of yous out there working the slow bar, but
No, what would be worse if you ran a slow bar, but then you also tried to serve breakfast and you were cooking the breakfast and then you had to run up and then make the pour over and then run back and make the eggs and then.
but
run-
you got some egg on your hand and it got into
yeah.
the Kalito wave.
But then you're like, oh my gosh, I just made the best thing on earth. And then you become a billionaire because you realize that
my
egg
gosh.
pour overs, it's a whole breakfast in a cup.
Dude, that's happened.
Someone's
Not
got-
all that like elaborate riffing you did, but like a cafe that's maybe owned by someone who's a little bit more out of touch with the operation.
Oh.
And they want to make some money. So like, okay, we got to have a food program. We got to have, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches in the morning. And we're going to have fancy coffee.
Right.
So we got to have pour overs. People love pour overs.
Oh, they love them.
And then you've got some Joe Schmo behind the bar alone on the 7 a.m. shift. And then all of a sudden, like 3 Sammys come in.
Men's Bible study walks in.
Oh, yeah.
crap.
Dude, that has happened to us.
Dude,
Literally.
We had 12 Irishmen just come in the other day. That was nuts.
wow.
They were staying at the hotel across the street. It's like 12 Irish dudes were like,
Dang.
They got like 20 croissants. And who was it? I mean, Joey. It was awesome. Anyways.
But even,
But we have a system.
yeah,
Right.
that's what I was going to say.
so on what you said, that is bottleneck, inefficiency, and panic all wrapped in together.
All
So,
3 points.
All 3 points of my sermon. Sermon, men's Bible study,
Let's go.
sparkling water covering all sins.
dang.
What else can we say?
Getting biblical on this one.
go.
But yeah, so at the end of that interaction with the breakfast sandwich and the pour over, it's likely that the pour over sucks and the breakfast sandwich sucks.
It's all cold.
Yeah, it's all bad. So how can you do a system like ours because we're perfect?
How can you be more like us?
No, because we would love to have a breakfast sandwich. That'd be cool.
Would love to.
Probably make some money.
Right? Goofing?
However, we've tried things like toasts in the past. We don't have toasts anymore.
Yeah.
We have things that are much faster to where when the 12 Irishmen walk through the door,
And get a ham, egg, and cheese croissant.
you can throw those ham, egg, and cheese croissants in the oven, get them out quick.
Boom.
That's such a huge thing. Crafting your menu for when a rush comes. Can we still achieve this menu whenever it's busy and whenever it's slow
Yeah.
with all of our different like personnel packages, football term, all of our different, personnel setups, whether it's 7 a.m. and we have 2 people behind bar, or it's Saturday at 10:30 and we have 5 people behind bar, can we still achieve all of the items on the menu in the same exact way?
Right.
And that's something we've been talking about a lot in orientations with new people, is whenever you're working behind the bar, you're just making drinks and food all day, over and over and over and over. And that's your job. And that's your experience. And so you just kind of think that way because that's your world while you're on your shift. But if we really value empathy at Valor, then we are going to put ourselves in the shoes of the 7th person in line, or the first person that comes in at 7:05 on Monday. We care way more about their experience coming in. They don't have a ton of drinks to make that day, obviously, because they're the guest. And so,
unless you used to work at Valor and you started getting behind the bar, because that's been happening lately.
Sam Thomas,
Jonathan Neeson.
that's funny. But let's say, scenario, right? Let's say someone comes in Monday morning, 7:05 a.m. before work. They get a lavender vanilla latte and an espresso curveball.
Whoa!
Okay. And then they also get a ham, egg, and cheese croissant that we have. They absolutely love all of it. They are raving to their employees, their people that they work with, whatever.
Employers,
their peers, their non-peers, their kids, their spouse.
their grandkids.
They're raving to everybody.
Their step cousin.
The point is they love it. They come back that weekend, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. The line is long, and they're like, doggone it, it's worth it. I got to get my lavender vanilla latte, my espresso, my ham, egg, and cheese croissant.
Ooh.
We need those things to taste exactly the same as they did 7:05 Monday. And there's a lot that goes into that, honestly.
Right.
And I guarantee you, it's that all those products on Monday morning were probably made by one person and maybe kind of 2 people. On Saturday, they're made by 5 people.
Right.
And we just, the experience is going to be different on those 2 different days, but we need what's in those cups, what's in those boxes to taste exactly the same. And that starts with hiring great people, but it also starts with the system, and it comes from not overshooting yourself with your menu choices.
Beautiful. So the TLDR is maybe take a step back, look at your menu and say, can I achieve this at my slowest and at my fastest pace consistently and well?
Yeah.
And maybe figure out ways that you can install a range of excellence within your product.
Right.
Any practical tips for that range of excellence? Maybe just like a drink break. You kind of hit on cappuccino, but what's our range of excellence on espresso for a latte?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 17.5 grams in, which for all the people that email us asking for our espresso recipe, here it is. 17.5 grams in the portafilter. How big's our basket? Our portafilter bat? 20 grams? 20 gram VST basket, okay?
The secret formula.
And what we do is we tamp it.
What?
And then we lock it in the espresso machine without hitting it on the espresso machine so it doesn't channel. And then you press brew immediately and not wait. Don't wait to press brew. And our espresso usually pulls, I mean, it's kind of all over the place, the time, depending on, time of day, roast, whatever. But we use the same coffee on espresso every day, free throw. I had one yesterday, had an espresso yesterday that was at like 22 seconds. It was fire. I had one at 29 seconds, fire. Both of them were different. Neither of them were poorly extracted. So
It's kind of the vibe of free throw.
right. And that's why we have free throw on espresso, because it's so forgiving. It's a multifaceted diamond.
Maybe you're using a blend at your cafe and it's hard to dial in. Well, maybe you should switch to free throw.
Smash like.
This
Smash
is
like.
sponsored by
Free
Valor
throw.
Wholesale and Free Throw specifically.
But yeah, and then our shots, our yield is around 45 grams, right? Probably pushing towards 50 sometimes.
Yeah, well, that was one thing we didn't get into, but the creating consistency through your equipment. So using volumetrics, on your espresso machine, that will get you within a range of excellence on your yield as well.
Right.
It's been pretty spot on. Our machine's almost 10 years old now, so it's just like a little.
I would say the way to establish a range of excellence is to taste a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Like throw everything you know out the window and just consume the product at different levels of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what happens when you make the drink and the espresso's been sitting for 5 minutes? What happens when you make the drink and you pour the espresso right into the cup and then pour? What happens when you shake an Americano? What happens when you don't shake an Americano? What happens
Right.
when you put a ice cube in a tea because you don't want to double cup it? And what happens when you don't? What happens when you do this? What happens when you do that? Because you can argue about
Yeah.
like, I think this is the better way. It's like, who cares what you think? Try it.
Try
Taste
it, time it, see
And
how
who-
long it takes.
And who cares what I say too? As like the guy,
Yeah.
I'm like, if their way is better, well, looks like we found our new process.
That's
Right.
a part of Sam's job description. Like I think this past Friday, he went to the cafe and tasted. I can't even remember what it was. He told me it was like an espresso. He tasted. He did it all at the same time. So espresso that has been like coffee ground sitting in a portafilter tamped for 10 minutes or whatever. It's been sitting there for 10 minutes versus fresh espresso, like ground, tamped, pulled all at once versus pulled instantly, sat there for 10 minutes after being pulled. And he like figured out what the difference was.
Did you hear his findings?
No.
Me neither. Sam!
Hey.
Sam!
And then next he's gonna figure out, can you really shock espresso?
Yes.
No, you can't.
But yeah, that's the way to do it. Figure out what's best for you because your range of excellence might be different than Valor's range of excellence, and that's fine.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, hey.
But just establish that because establishing the bar at perfection is not viable or viable
Or pulpable.
unless
Or palpable.
you are really low volume or very high staffed,
Yeah.
which are both cool for you. You might not want to make money. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine if you don't want to make money.
Yeah, and even on top of the range of excellence, find out your non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable, yeah.
Meaning like the things that are pretty easy to nail and you should just nail it every time.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it's very, very easy to dose out 226 grams for our drip every time. There's no range there.
So it's like, if it's over 200, just rip it.
Right.
Wrong-o.
Those are sort of the metrics, right? It's like how much, when you're establishing your range of excellence, how much does it affect the end product and how easy is it to nail it every time? Mm-hmm. The things that are harder to nail every time mixed with it also doesn't really affect the product that much. That's where your range of excellence comes in. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
I think I'm tracking.
I'm trying to think of any other complete gold in the top of our domes.
I think that's a good place.
Oh, and we said it, but finding out your balance of relying on systems versus people, because you want to be able to sustainably train everybody a similar process, and not just let someone come in and like we've talked about this to an extreme, but there's people that take advantage of the freedom that someone might give them in the cafe space, that when they walk in on bar, they're immediately changing the espresso recipe. They're immediately changing the boiler temps and they're reorganizing the space. It's like figure out what your systems are and let people work in them.
Yeah.
And innovate from there.
I would also say, like, if you're an owner of a coffee shop and you come into your own cafe and you have an inconsistent experience on day one versus day two, and you're like, daggone, this needs to change. Like, where do you go from there? Because, like, for me, I don't work behind the bar that often. And I have had inconsistent experiences at Valor. Like, whether that was the espresso tasted weird or my cap was too hot or whatever. Where do I go? Because it's kind of a weird place to be in. And I think the very first thing is seeking first to understand. Because I'm not as involved in the day-to-day of, the pit crew behind the bar. And so if I'm going to offer any sort of help, if I'm going to fix the problem, I have to start with, one, like assuming the best of the baristas behind the bar, that they know what they're doing for the most part. And I have to like ask questions as opposed to just point my finger and say, be better.
Yeah. And if they don't know what they're doing, whose fault is that?
Right. It's my fault.
It's Ross's.
Your fault. Ross.
Singularly.
Just make that clear. Of the three of us, it's Ross's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my biggest qualms with the cafe for a while was that the line would be really slow. And it wasn't the fault of anyone behind the bar. It was the fault of us for the systems at play.
Right.
So people would get to the front of the line, there'd be a food menu that they hadn't seen. And then they would stand at the front of line wondering what they were going to get. And it really slowed everything down.
And we didn't have an overhead menu at that point.
So we installed an overhead menu and a QR code menu to get people ready to rip by the time they get to the front of the line.
And that doesn't make the interaction any worse.
No.
Right. Because I think for a while the thing we really chopped it up about was like people at concierge are asking these people how their days are too much. Meaning the interaction is taking so long that the people behind this person in line are pissed because the barista is just chatting up the person in question.
Which is not to say that doesn't happen. Because
Sure.
it certainly can.
Yeah.
And we have to train our employees to limit their interaction times at surge.
Maximum connection, minimum time.
Yeah. Specifically during rush hour.
Yeah.
And then it's not just, stop talking to them. We move the conversation from concierge to expo or concierge to brewer, and
Right.
they can pick up the conversation. Yeah. That all goes into making a consistent product because that's another point. It's like if people are used to talking to the person at concierge and then during a rush we can't talk, that's not a consistent operation.
Sure.
So the bridge of consistency is move it to another position where they can continue that interaction.
Yeah.
And we're still developing this. Like we just ordered little pastry tags for each pastry because people always get to the front. They saw the menu, but they don't know which item is which in the pastry case.
Yep.
So
Or even if it's still there.
or even if it's still there. So we're figuring out how to. It's not so we have to talk to someone less. It's just so someone has as much information as they possibly need without having to seek it out.
And
That's good guest experience.
Yeah. We have more time to chop it up
Yeah.
because we're not busy talking about which pastries we have.
I would much rather ask someone. I would much rather know how someone's weekend is going than them be asking which pastry is which.
Right. If you have 30 seconds, might as well spend it on the connection.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I think we'll figure it out, boys. We'll be fine.
I hope so.
That was a good question. Whoever asked that, thank you. And you talked about it super briefly, but we didn't even talk about the fact that our coffee that we get is super consistent.
Yeah.
That's such a great part of it. It would be literally all for naught if we were getting coffee that was just all over the place. Or even if we decided to mix up what we were offering.
Yep.
We didn't even talk about Free Throw has been on espresso for the last 6 years. Anything that we've done, Free Throws on espresso. Ish. 99.9.
6 or less years. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a huge part of it. And then, just super grateful for Sam and Dale and you for roasting awesome coffee all these years.
Yeah, if the coffee on your bar isn't consistent, then we know where you could go. It's to Valor and get a consistent product behind the bar, huh?
Well, just come get a coffee from us.
One of the reasons that is so important is because it's similar to the conversation of, do I want to spend 30 seconds connecting with someone or telling them about our pastries we don't have? I would so much rather, like a barista behind our bar that really, really cares about their job, I would so much rather them be connecting with a guest than worrying about dialing in the espresso because the coffee is not consistent.
Don't get me started here, guys. Every product that we have can really affect that. Like right now, the oat milk we're using, the bottles are too full. I can't shake them. I have to open it, pour some out, put the cap on, then shake to serve.
Yeah.
It just changes my flow.
Yeah.
We've gotten half and half that's just like clumpy and it doesn't mix well. The whole time that's on bar is just, it adds a level of inefficiency and genuine panic of like, am I harming someone by giving them a bad dairy product?
Yeah, and it just takes away the energy and time of
Away from the people.
Yeah, away from people.
So
And that's a huge thing with investing in equipment too. Of like, you want to invest in your equipment so that it's not a factor. It's like the best sound guys are the ones that you never hear about because they just make the mix great. And the only time the sound guy gets credit is like when there's a mistake. That's how the saying goes. Same with equipment. Like, I want to never think my machine. I never want to think about the machine, this espresso machine.
right.
I never want to think about our grinders.
Yeah.
They just need to be static.
Yep.
Yeah, consistent suppliers is really important. If your suppliers aren't consistent, then first of all, switch to Valor, and second,
It's the third ad.
tell your like this. What is this? I just bought this shirt and this thread is here.
Dang.
1-star review. Just leave a bunch of 1-star reviews. No, I'm just kidding. Tell your suppliers that the product isn't what it is supposed to be. We've had people tell us if there is ever an issue, and we want to know.
Yeah.
If the croissants were too small or have been getting too small, we tell our supplier, hey, the croissants have been a little small, and they fix it.
Because they want to be the best too.
Yeah, and
It's the base.
and it's just don't be afraid to voice that. And then if whoever you're working with isn't willing to make adjustments,
Switch to Valor.
switch to Valor.
We'll make the croissants bigger for you.
we will milk the cow.
We'll figure it out.
We'll milk the oats.
We'll do anything.
Yeah, well, just give us the opportunity.
Well,
All right.
that was fun.
Good radio, boys.
Yeah, that was great radio.
Gosh, good radio. Smash a like.
Keep on the lookout for that giveaway on YouTube. Go ahead and get subscribed up. You can find a link to our YouTube channel down in the show notes.
Ooh.
So just to be clear, you have to subscribe and comment.
Subscribe and comment on the video when it's released. But just go ahead and get subscribed so you know when the video is released.
Right.
What kind of prompt can we offer for the comment? I don't want it to just be like, I commented.
I love that.
What do we want to know?
Let's think about it.
I already made the video, so I'm not gonna.
You could just
change
make
the
it
video.
again, though.
Wait,
but
what'd you make?
That Mikey video.
watched it.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know. But everybody's going to also be listening to this right now. It's just
Right.
a bonus. It's a little bonus point.
If you're listening to this right now, comment just your shoe size, nothing else.
And your favorite pizza topping.
Your shoe size and your favorite pizza topping, so we know that you were sent there from here. Colson, thank you. Josh Cappuccino, thank you.
Elias, thank you.
My dad. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Love you.
Love you.
Love you.